Hello, guys, and welcome to this session. Doing some endgame problems or doing some endgame training on chesstempo.com. Over the past two videos, we've talked a lot about this king in front of the pawn type of position, right? We examined uh, we examined we examined this position here, where black has the opposition and it's a draw. We examined this position here, where white has the opposition and it's a win. And we also examined this position here, where it doesn't matter if white or black has the opposition. Because if black has the opposition, we can stop him from regaining the opposition. And if white has the opposition, just entering the position and promoting the pawn is a very simple win. So we need to have these sort of structures in our mind when we're calculating if a position is a win or a loss or a draw. And so taking a look at this position, it's white to move, but it actually doesn't matter. So you'll remember in the previous example that if white has the opposition, it's a win. With the pawn here, if white has the opposition, it's a win. If black has the opposition, it's a draw. But the difference between these two positions is that the pawn's not here. We have a tempo. This is called a tempo. We have a tempo to burn. We have a pawn move to burn. So if black has the opposition, we can burn a tempo and get the opposition back. And if we have the opposition, we can just advance into the position. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So here, if we come around, this seems kind of stupid, yeah? So instead, we need to burn a tempo to make black give up the opposition. Boop, boop, boop. Not necessary, in fact. You can also do it this way. This is the better win. And this idea of burning a tempo is very, very important, because when we have these positions, we always need to remember that if we can get our king to any of these squares in front of his pawn, we can win. Because with that tempo to burn, it doesn't actually matter who has the opposition and who doesn't, because we can take it back at any time. So instead of calculating opposition, what you sometimes need to do is calculate if you can get to these key squares. Let's take a look at an example of such a position. I'm going to delete all of this. All right. So here we have a very similar position where we need to know if we can somehow get access to these squares here. We're going to fight a battle for those squares. So what can we do? Let's first try to get to the C5 square. We're going to somehow try to get to the C5 square. So let's say king C2, here, 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 here. That's it. There we go. The king needs to come around. We follow. The king moves away. We can get into C5. Boom. We win. Right? No. Nope. You can't win in this position. Not like that. Not like that. Because this king is not just going to calmly enter the position. If you try to enter king d7, enter, he's not gonna enter into c6. No, he's gonna play a waiting move to maintain contact with the oppositional squares. He's gonna maintain contact with the oppositional squares. So that way when you try to enter to get to c5, he's gonna enter on c6, and now black has the opposition draw. You can never get to c5. So instead, let's try to get to b5. Let's see if we can get to b5. b5 is our objective. Here are our oppositional squares. All right, let's try to figure out a way to get to b5. King c2, king d7, king c3. Okay, we're making progress. Now, if here we win, we can get to c4, so we don't need to worry about that. We get to c4 with the opposition. So the most critical move is this waiting move, right? Now, if we try to enter here, black enters the position with the opposition, and it's a draw. So what if we try to get to, let's say, d4? That doesn't really work because now black enters to b6 with the diagonal opposition. And when we enter on c4, he's going to enter on c6. And again, there's nothing that we can do. There's no way to get to b5. So we can't get to these key squares in front of the king where it doesn't matter if we have the opposition or not. We can't seem to get there. We can't get to b5. We can't get to c5. So let's try to get to a5. Now let's see. The most direct route to a5, it's not going to be this way, because we've already talked about that. We've already talked about how once the king gets here, go away, go away, go away, go away, go away. Once the king gets here, he can stop us from ever entering onto b4 or c4 with the opposition. So we're definitely never going to get to a5 there. We're never going to be able to get to a5 without moving our pawn somehow. So instead, let's try this route. All right. Now, let's see. King b2, king b2. Here's our objective. We want the a5 square. King here, king here, king here, king here. Now, let's say he tries to stop us from entering a5. Does that work? It doesn't. He stops us from entering a5, but he doesn't stop us from gaining the opposition, which is an immediate win. It's an immediate win, so he can't stop us from entering the oppositional squares with the opposition. So instead, he needs to do something else. He needs to play a waiting move if he wants us to stop us from getting into a5. But then look, we're going to get to b5. We're going to get to b5 with the opposition. And even without the opposition, it is an immediate win. We can enter a5 or b5. It doesn't matter. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So just with a little bit of calculation, and not by calculating promotion, but by calculating access to squares, we can figure out if this is a win or a loss. So let's take a look at what that looks like in practice. Again, we know now that this route just doesn't work, so we need to try for king b2. King b2, king here, king here, king here, king here. Now if he enters, we have the opposition. And we have this opposition with the king directly in front of the pawn. And so we know that that's an immediate win. We know, boom, we've got it. But here in this position, if he tries to stop us from gaining access to a5, we can get access to a5, or we can just play king b5 with the opposition for an even easier win. Both of them, both of them are good. Both of them are winning. Let's take a look at that against the computer just to demonstrate. It doesn't matter who I'm playing. Oh, this is I chose the position from the end there. I want to start with this position all the way from the beginning. It doesn't matter what we're playing because we know what the result is. So again, white is going to fight to try and get access to these key squares. These key squares where it doesn't matter if he has the opposition or not. So let's try to take a look here. All right, so he comes in, and my best route, I guess I gotta play king d7, right? Making these moves doesn't make sense. These are just getting my king even further away. So the best, most critical line is king d7. All right, so he comes in trying to get that oppositional square, trying to get access to a5 and b5. Okay, so let's see. King c6. If king c6, king a4, king b6, king b4, and white has the opposition and I'm lost. So maybe my best try is to play this king c7, hoping that he plays king b4 when I can enter on king b6 and I have the opposition and I can win. Or I can draw. But he doesn't. He plays for access to a5, which makes total sense. It makes total sense because, one second, he wants access to a5 because he doesn't want to have to worry about the opposition. So, if he gets onto b5, he's winning. If he gets onto a5, he's winning, and I can't stop him from accessing both squares. So it seems like the best chance is king b6, stopping him from accessing those squares. But then king b4. And I haven't stopped him from accessing those squares. And if I come here, you'll see he gets access to the other key square, which is c5. And there's nothing that I can do about it. Check. King comes back, follows me with the opposition. King a7, push. Can't go anywhere. King b8, can't go anywhere. And he just escorts his pawn to promotion. And there's nothing that you can really do about it. Let's see what that looks like from me playing the white pieces. Alright, so again, I'm going to try and get access to these squares. I'm going to get access to those squares. I'm going to do it. And you can see he makes the same choice. He doesn't want me to step onto a5 and b5 immediately, which would really simplify my task. So he makes me work hard for it. And now you can see I get there. Now, any of these moves are fine. Any of them are fine. I think I like the principled move of just coming in here. Had he gone here, then b4 would have stopped his plans of somehow trying to come around and get my pawn. It would have stopped those plans because b4 is going to control the c5 square. So now I can just push. I can still just push. Remember, opposition doesn't matter in this position because my king is in front of the pawn and his king's going to be on the back rank. So his king comes here. I'm going to come here. Come around. He chooses to go towards the center of the board to prolong the checkmate. Which totally makes sense. All right, and obviously promotion and checkmate to follow. Let's see, how long is this video now? It's 15 minutes, so I think we'll content ourselves with that video there, with just this position. It's a little bit complicated, right? But you just need to remember how to gain access to those key squares where the opposition doesn't matter. You have to balance all of these positions in your mind, because we need to get to the key squares. Why do we know that we need to get to the key squares? Because we know that we need to get our king in front of the pawn. That's the only way to get a win out of this position. So the way to think about it is we want to win the position, which means our king needs to be in front of the pawn. Now with a king in front of the pawn, in front of his own pawn, there are two ways to win. Be in front of the pawn with the opposition, or be in front of the pawn in a place where the opposition doesn't matter. Now, how do we choose which one? Get in front of the pawn with the opposition, or get in front of the pawn to a place where the opposition doesn't matter. How do you decide which one? Well, if you'll take a look at this position, we can determine that this king can always stop us from getting in front of the pawn with the opposition. The king can always stop us from getting in front of the pawn with the opposition. So then the only choice is to try to find a way in which we can get in front of the pawn in a place where the opposition doesn't matter, which means we need to reproduce this position here. And so that's how you determine you need to get your king to a5, b5, or c5. And from there you then determine the route. All right, thanks so much for watching that video. I hope you learned a little something. I think I did. I learned things while making this video and bullshitting my way along. So I hope that you liked that. And until the next time, good luck with your chess journey. Bye-bye for now.